Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. This is
Hello.
Andrea Little Mason, and also known as
Nikia.
Dr. Doula. Wait, I'm gonna tell them who you are a little bit because I got to talk about
Okay.
her. See, this woman
Wow.
already, and I'm gonna tell you like I tell everybody else. I do not edit, so they're gonna see all this. Let me tell you why she's ready. 'Cause
Wow.
she stays ready. Nikia stays ready because Nikia be on the tubes. She be talking about birth, community, hospital. She's talking, but before she starts talking, and I let her go and do her thing. The first thing I'm gonna do is just first of all, this is Birth Her Story blog.
Awesome.
Yes, and we are talking with one of our special birth workers today. And she is absolutely amazing. I met her when I came into the community and decided to commit to this work. I met her. I've watched over the years how she has just continued to be consistent, and powerful. She's traveling internationally. She's holding trainings, doula trainings internationally. She'll stand flat-footed, tell the truth about stuff, and be the only brown skin in the room. And she just does her thing. And so I thought, we need to I want to be a part of birth in this story. I don't know, I know people know she gives interviews and stuff about birth, but I want us to know about her. I want us to hear what she's doing. I know, but I'm gonna let her tell y'all herself.
Oh.
Okay, so take it away, my love. Tell these people who you are.
Well, I'm so grateful, Dr. Doula, to be in the presence with you. I am so grateful and honored to be a part of your blog and telling her story, my story, which
Exactly.
is my sister's story. And so I am so grateful to be a part of this journey that you are taking with us as birth workers, this journey that you are taking with us as sister women, in this particular industry that we all have such a passion for. And so I speak highly to the passion I have for birth work, especially as it relates to the Black birth community.
Yes.
I tell people all the time, I'm a woman first, and then I'm a Black woman. So please don't ever discount the fact that I'm unapologetically Black.
Yes.
And in those spaces, I own that. And I have no lack of confidence in saying that I'm unapologetically Black. When I train, when I coach, when I mentor, when I serve my community, I do it with a reverence to being a Black woman.
Give it to the people, Nikia. Give it to the people. Go on, girl.
And one more time for the people in the back.
Come on now.
So I tell people that all the time because I don't want people to forget the fact that I am here in the service of women. I'm here in the service of women having an empowered and satisfying birth experience, but I do not discount the fact that Black women are having a hard time during this journey and during this part of their lives. And so that speaks to a lot of who I am and what I do as a birth worker. It speaks to what I do as a community advocate. It speaks to what I do as a professional in training and being a part of Doula International, which is the brand I represent. So there's a lot that goes along with all of those different facets. And, we're going through so much of this struggle for Black women. And as we raise Black women up this week during Black Maternal Health Week,
yes.
and we champion organizations like the Black Mamas Matter Alliance, those are opportunities for us to have our voice, speak our truth, and understand that we have a say in what's going on with us in our health and wellness. And so I shout it from the rooftops. I'll continue to shout it from the rooftops. And that's the voice and that's the space that I stay in, kind of like all the time. It's kind of like you said, consistently what I've been doing since I started out in this community journey. So for me, it started a long time ago.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it.
It didn't start out as birth work. When I was in third grade, I got a math award, and I asked one of the teachers, and I always say I want to find the descendants of William Rayford Haney, because he was one of the few white educators back in the day when I was in elementary school that gave little Black girls hope and gave little Black girls an opportunity. And he was my sister's fifth grade teacher when I was in the third grade. But Brenda Whitteen recommended me for an Ann Brandon Award in mathematics. And I went to Mr. Haney and I asked Mr. Haney, if you're smart in math, what could you be? And he said, you could be an engineer. You could be anything you want, but you could be an engineer. Engineers are smart in math, and you're smart in math, and you can be an engineer. So from the time I was in the third grade to the time I graduated high school, I wanted to become an engineer because Mr. Haney told me I could.
Come on.
And so I threw myself into math and science, and I went to an engineering high school. I studied some high-level mathematics in high school. I went to a math and science summer program at Phillips Andover. I went to boarding school in the summer times, all focused on math and science and engineering. So when I graduated high school, I had a full academic scholarship to study physics for 2.5 years. Not PE, not physical therapy, not physical education. I studied physics. Yes.
Come on now.
So I had that big part of my brain that was working it out. And I was really excited about the opportunity to become a physicist and an engineer. I was preparing myself to go to Georgia Tech. I ended up graduating high school with a full academic scholarship to Clark Atlanta. So I ended up at Clark Atlanta studying physics for 2.5 years. And then I was supporting a friend of mine who was actually terminating a pregnancy. And so in the midst of her terminating the pregnancy, I was actually pregnant with my own child. My ex-husband and I, we were pregnant my sophomore year in college. And so I was married and ready to have a kiddo and start a family, even though I was in school. I was young. I was right at 20 years old, thinking I was grown. I thought I was ready. You know, he hung the stars in the moon, honey. So I thought he was everything. You know how they do.
Yes.
So, yes. And we had been together for quite a while. This is something we had talked about. And we just happened to do it in the middle of my academics while I was young and vibrant and had all this energy. But in the midst of sharing this journey with my friend who decided that continuing her pregnancy wasn't what she wanted, I got a spiritual epiphany sitting in an abortion clinic.
Wow.
And in the midst of that, I'm kind of in the midst of talking to God throughout all of this. And he's like, it's not for you to be an engineer. It is your responsibility to educate these mamas that are sitting in these spaces where they wish they had an answer and they wish they knew what was going on and they wish they had a journey to go on and walk through with somebody who could guide them. And so I literally left that semester. I left Clark Atlanta University. I gave up my full academic scholarship, got on financial aid, and started studying social work. So I left engineering and physics and went to social work. Yes. I started out there, and because it was a private HBCU and it was a different kind of financial obligation, I transferred to the state school. I got my undergraduate degree in social work from Georgia State University. Yes, that was long time ago, back in 1998. And so that was kind of where I started, and I started kind of dibbing and dabbing in birth work. I came home, and my sister was having her 4th kiddo, and it was Christmas holiday break, and I was actually in the delivery room when my nephew was born, and my sister leaned over to me. My family calls me Nick, and so my sister said, "Nick, this is what you was meant to do." And I never did understand what that meant, but my sister kind of planted that seed. And so being a support person, I didn't know what that meant or if that was a profession. So I came back home to Georgia. I was still in Atlanta at the time, went back home to Georgia, and I got online to look. And this is back when the internet was fairly new, searching the way, you know, it was the World Wide Web back then. That was when AOL used to do dial-up. Yeah. And so I got on some dial-up internet, and I tried to search for this industry where you could support people while they were having a baby. And the only thing that I found back then was Doula. And at the time, they were Doulas of North America. Mm-hmm. They had not gone international. They were just serving in the U.S. And the trainings were extremely expensive. It was probably like $1,500 when I first approached the idea of learning. Well, you find trainings now that's $1,500. 23 years later, they still having them that expensive. But needless to say, back then, it was like when you bought a microwave when they first came out to what you can buy one for now at the flea market. That's kind of
okay. So hold on, because I honestly did not know that it was that expensive back then. I hear about when it started.
Yeah,
but I had no idea. Let's see what my mode and my mood would be today. Okay, I feel like that means that you're in an elitist place to afford
already. You had already, it was already in a situation where if you weren't prepared to step into this journey as a profession, which again, most people didn't even realize and recognize this existed as a profession. I didn't know it was a profession that existed. So this was a situation where it wasn't about serving and supporting women, in my opinion. In my opinion, that's not what it was about. I was like, okay, well, I don't have another $1,500 to drop on this. I just changed my major and switched over and got on financial aid to finish my degree. Mike's husband was like, yeah, pick one and stick with it. And so I stuck with the degree plan. And so that was what the process was. But I realized, well, let me just do this because I obviously my sister said I'm good at it. So I'll just try it. So family, friends, church members, I did that for years and years and years until I kind of got an understanding of what it meant to quote unquote doula. And then as Donna started to change and evolve and people were starting to get a lot more involved, and it wasn't about research, because, it started out as research. And so once it expanded to a profession, they said, well, let's start training other people. Again, you got a handful of white male researchers and their counterparts, and their white females.
Be clear.
white
It
male and
was
female
the
researchers and
researchers
and their
and their
counterparts
counterparts.
who were other white male and female researchers. That
Exactly.
didn't include everybody.
No.
That just included a small piece of people.
Pause
so
right there.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in.
It is what it is.
Because I often tell people, this is a new, in the scope of the world, it's 30, 40 years old, doula. And
yeah,
I love
the professional term.
The professional term.
In the
organization,
it's probably about 27 years old. But yeah,
exactly.
The professional term is about 30 years old.
The
organization is a little less, just a little bit younger than that. Because again, it was formulated around the ideals of a few white males who at the time, they didn't have on white coats. They just had white pocket protectors. You know, I differentiate the white coats from the white pocket protectors. Because that's your researchers versus your doctors, you know. Mm-hmm. So when the white pocket protectors created this industry, it looked like them.
And I appreciate you saying that. What I love about the different birth workers that I have on is that each of you holds a piece of history that we need to make sure as Black women that we understand when we are considering our place in this industry. Mm-hmm. We have to understand the historical context when we're considering our place in the industry, so we can understand what the foundation of it was.
The big picture.
The big picture, because when you understand that part, then you can also understand, oh, well, maybe that's why this is done this way. Or you can understand, you know, some of these permissions that we're looking for in order to do things. No one gave them permission to do anything. And we don't necessarily need that permission either to do what we need to do in order to deal with our own situation. Okay, continue, because you're giving a history lesson. Y'all bring the history lessons. I love it.
Okay, I'm trying to do 16 things. Hold on.
Look at you, still working.
I can't. It don't stop. It don't stop, because the same organization that I'm referring to is the organization that I represent. And I'm going to get to that. I'm going to bring this full circle to the conversation. Because when we talk about the white pocket protectors and we talk about their counterparts, they didn't envision an organization that was going to evolve, because either you evolve or die. That's it. And so Doula never had to evolve, because again, didn't look like us, didn't sound like us, didn't have any respect of person for us. So it really didn't have to evolve to even include us. But as we started looking at the reality of the fact that it does involve us, it does include us, it does relate to us, we have to find a way to fit. Years later, going into my journey, because like I said, I walked away from the idea because I couldn't afford it. And so
stop right there, because there's still context where, for some people, I just need you to hear what Nikia just said. She said, I walked away from it because I couldn't afford it.
Right.
She could not afford to be a part of the profession.
I couldn't afford to be a part of the profession. I couldn't afford it. And so in the midst of that, I had to look at what opportunities I could afford. And so I could afford to serve my church. I could afford to serve my family. I could afford to serve. Yeah, I could afford to do that, even though I couldn't afford to go through and get this credential. That for me at the time, I'm doing the work. It's not really necessary.
Oh, suck it now. There you go again, starting stuff. Go ahead.
Yes. So I didn't find a necessity for the credential until we fast forward about 10, 15 years. Okay. I moved back to Texas. I started engaging and interacting in the community. And now it becomes necessary that I have a credential, because there's a community program that I want to be a part of, that I need to have some training. Okay. Well, fast forward to 2008. At that point, and I guess this is definitely 10 years after I had looked at it back in 1990. Let me see. My nephew was born. Hold on just a second. Give me just a second, because I'm trying to do a few things.
Well, remember, I'm not gonna edit it, so
I know I know you ain't got to edit it. This is what folks need to understand, that this is how it works when you trying to save lives, and you trying to tell the story, and you trying to be a part of the journey. This is how it looks. And so for me, because life kicked in the midst of all of what we have going, I can't cancel. because I don't know when I'm gonna get a chance to have this opportunity again. So I got to be, a part of this with you. Yes.
Thank you for
but
that.
I also have some other responsibilities that I got to be a part of as well too. So I got to be present. You know, you got to be present and accounted for. So that's kind of where I am. So hold on. Allow me to be present and accounted for. And just give me a moment. Hot diggity diggity. I'm trying to find my place. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find my place. So going back to what I was saying, because I'll look as I'm going. But going back to what I was saying is, having gone through that journey, I didn't realize until years later that I was still going to be a part of Doula International on some level.
That's
so
great.
I ended up going back to Doula because again, I saw nothing else. So when I went back to it, I said, well, I need this because I have this opportunity now and I want this opportunity and I need to go ahead and get this. How can I get this? And that's what I did. I went on through with Doula International and I got certified. I got trained and I got certified back in 2008. And in the process of my certification back in 2008, I was able to be a part of a community-based doula program here in my network in Tarrant County, Fort Worth. It was the Fort Worth Dallas Birthing Project. And I came on as a community doula and I had a chance to serve in that capacity. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me. We were a community-funded program. We ended up losing our funding and that was so unfortunate. But in the midst of all that, I learned so much. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about community. I learned so much about mamas and how to go about supporting and serving mamas. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And then there's a little bit shifted and changed from there. And so in the shifts and changes, when that whole thing came about, it worked out for me on a whole nother level because a couple of years later, I was introduced to when they started their Doulas of Color Fellowship. And I had a chance to come on board as a Doula of Color Fellow and be a trainer for Doula International. That was in 2010. And then in 2010, it expanded a little bit more. And so I maintained my certification with Doula International. And I maintained because I wanted to be a part of training other doulas. But when they approached me with it, it was like, okay, you guys, we're putting this training program together so that women of color can train women of color so they can be a part of the community and they can serve each other. I kind of took offense to it because I'm like, wait a minute, y'all don't want us to go out here and make money and serve them, but you want us to come over here in the community, just the community, and serve the community. See, I didn't have the mindset I have now to understand there was a value in that. They didn't either. Because in all honesty, that ain't the reason why it was put together that way.
Exactly.
But it turned out to benefit us that way because we still had a heart for it. So I started out saying, well, I need to make money in this industry like y'all do. And so I was training just about everybody. Then it flipped and I said, you know what? I'm just going to train women of color. I shifted my focus. I dropped my price. And I only started training women of color. And this was back in about 2014.
Right. I remember.
About 2014, yeah. I started just training sisters. But the thing about it was I still didn't have the passion for Doula, not the way I do now in the opportunity to create change, simply because when it boiled down to it, Doula still didn't look like me. Doula still didn't sound like me. Doula still didn't have a passion for the women who were going through what I was going through. So I maintained my position with Doula International so that I could train doulas. And I would still have this backing just in case anybody else had opportunities for hospital programs or community programs. They could go about getting their certification with Doula International because I was a Doula approved trainer. But it didn't matter to me because it didn't look like me. Now let's fast forward to a couple of years ago when I have an opportunity to apply for leadership with Doula International. It didn't look good at the top. So I was like, well, let me get in at the top and see how it looked. It was still the good old girl system.
I remember.
And the good old girl system said, we still ain't quite ready for y'all.
I remember.
We'll pick a select few of y'all and we'll let y'all in and we'll see how that works. Well, it didn't work out well because again, you got a loud amount of their voices and a handful of our voices. Yes. And so it gets silenced really, really quick. It gets challenging really, really quick. And so to avoid that from happening, I said, you know what? I'm not going to get caught up in that. I'm not going to get caught up in all of what they're saying is going on. I'm going to do my part. So last year, I had an opportunity when Reve Sinclair became the president-elect. She was like, we need to get more sisters involved. And this sister was like, I'm stacking the deck while I have a chance. So I'm going to reach out to the sisters who are involved, and I'm going to see how we can get involved. And she started strategically putting us on committees where we weren't represented. And so it's like, now we have a voice. And so when she became president, she's like, okay, here's some other opportunities. While she was president-elect, she was like, Nikia, I know you got this little business thing you got going on over here on the side, sis. Go ahead and write a proposal. Told you. She told me to write a proposal to speak at the conference. And this is the sister that's looking out for me. You know what I'm saying? And so she said, write a proposal, come speak at the conference. They paid me to come and speak at the conference. And I got there and I started to establish relationships with white women who I saw as allies in the effort to continue to do the voice of what I was doing already in my community, training doulas, serving families, teaching free childbirth classes, doing a breastfeeding latch clinic like the one I did this morning, preparing for the free community childbirth class like the one I have on the 22nd, doing what I'm doing in my community already from where my roots came from when I got here. I stayed with it and I stayed true to it. Now I have an opportunity to mix and mingle with people who are allies in this same effort and share with them and say, so not all of y'all are like the good old girls. Not all of y'all are part of the white pocket protector, and y'all not a part of that cohort. So let me find the rest of y'all. Let me find my tribe amongst y'all too. Because I got a tribe amongst the ones that look like me. Let me find a tribe amongst the ones that don't. And that's what I did. I spent a weekend establishing some relationships.
Yes.
So then when it came time, that same sister that volunteered me to show up, she volunteered me to step up for leadership. So she said, show up here, now step up here. And I applied for the membership director position and they elected me because I had created relationships. So I became the membership director for Doula International this past year through election.
Yes.
And now I sit on the board of directors alongside another Black woman who now we see, okay, the good old girls are gone. And now we got to change some things at the top because we got an organization that already has a seat at the table. And we have to continue to make sure that we have a voice while they have that seat. Because that seat ain't going nowhere. But we got to have a voice to create some change with the people who have access, resources, and ability to walk through doors just with a name.
Exactly.
Their name and their brand walk them through doors. But we ain't never had a voice at the table. Doula has always been at the table, and now we got a voice at the table. Because our show got a big old mouth.
I love that. I love that because I remember the years. I particularly remember a photograph where it was in one of the groups. Everybody had a group a few years ago. It was a lot of different kind of groups. And there was a picture and someone said, there are women of color on this board. There are women of color. And I don't know what you were talking about. You said, okay, if I'm looking at a black and white picture, everybody looks exactly the same. You can't see the difference between anything. So you have people of culture, because I use that, Nikia, just so you know.
Yes.
I use
between color and culture. Yes.
I said, Nikia said that she said, you have people of culture, but I don't see people of color.
Yes. Yes.
And I was like, that's really something. I want to back up and talk about a couple of things you said that I find interesting. And back at the beginning of your story, and I first, let me say this, how much I celebrate your appointment, because I remember that was one of the things your election, because I remember that was one of the things that was important to you. Not so much because it was Doula, but because you were like, wait a minute, this is not right. And I think that we will all in our own ways serve, play a part in whatever thing that we're doing. Is going to look different for each of us. It's going to look different based on what our particular call is. But I love that you stayed the course, because I think when I met you, I don't know how long you had been training, but you're like, I think you were the only Black doula
in this region.
I'm like,
we only had a handful. We only had a handful of Black doula trainers in the country. There was probably about 2 before they did their very first Doulas of Color Fellow back in 2010. There were probably 2, maybe 3 sisters that had already been on board. I know Dr. Marlowe was one of them. I'm trying to think of who else. And then there was another class that came behind me. There may be 2 classes that came behind me of fellows, and that kind of created more about maybe 8 or 9 of us. So of 100 and some odd trainers, we don't even make up 10% of the trainers that are part of Doula International. And so, and as they're, getting more mature and they're finding other parts of their lives that they're, being a part of, and a lot of them are retiring. And we're looking at how is that going to affect and impact the birth community. We're realizing and recognizing that community-based doulas are necessary in the landscape of what's going on as it relates to Doula International. Because again, I can only speak to the organization that I represent. There are, about 85 that we know of and about 100 of them that we don't know of.
Exactly.
As it relates to doula training organizations and people, you got mom and pops that are, that are popping up, husband and wife teams, small community organizations
right.
that are doing their own doula training. And that's a great thing.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. But at the end of the day, who got a seat at the table?
Mm-hmm.
We got to make sure that when we have a voice with the people who have access, that they saying the right thing. We're not being excluded and we're not being silenced. And so because I've already had such a long-standing relationship with Doula, it behooves me to be a voice. Because for a long time, I was like, you know what? Y'all do y'all thing. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to keep training sisters. We're going to keep changing our community. We're going to keep doing this one doula at a time, whether they get certified or not. But I'm like, no, we got to get certified. We got to become members and we got to get certified so we'll have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where the voice comes from. They, being my white counterparts, they get certified so they can have a voice. Because we all know we don't need certification to be a part of this industry.
Exactly.
But you got to have a voice somewhere. And there's influence in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
There's commitment in numbers. There's opportunity in numbers. And even though I salute all the sisters out here who are doing it for the community, I can't throw Doula under the bus and say, no, not Doula. I'm going to say, how can Doula do better than what they've been doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to always have a seat at the table. And I'm not trying to be excluded to having a voice while we take that seat.
And I love it that you focus on the representation. I love the diversity of what Black women are doing in the birth community. And I think it's vitally important for us, like I said, to all serve in our own capacity. I also look at, you were talking about earlier, you started off with you had the interest in physics and you had the interest in the math and all those things. I also notice among Black women, I put a post up, I think the other day, and I was asking about the degree levels of Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And some people took that as, they were like, oh, are we doing a tit for tat of who has more degrees or who doesn't, or what's the education level? And I told one person, I said, it's not about that at all. It's about the celebration of what we do bring to the table.
Yes.
The difference that I've seen with Black women is that generally when Black women are coming to this field now, I mean, I have a lot of college students that reach out to me.
Yeah.
I have a lot of those that are thinking about college, high school, stuff like that. But many of the women that are coming to birth work are women who are considered to be highly educated Black women.
Yes.
We're coming from fields, I started in electrical engineering. I finished in mathematics. I came from this other field.
Yeah.
To do this. It wasn't because, even while I was doing birth work in my, with my family and my, the same thing that you described, here I am, this woman educated in a different way. And
right.
I think that for many Black women, the theme of having a call comes up all the time. And that is also something that I hear that is different. Black women, I don't think it's just our lingo either. I think it's literally what it feels like to them. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I truly believe this work is a calling. And for some people, you're called to a thing, and to some people, you choose a thing. And for those of us who chose birth work, because I don't feel like I was called to birth work. I mean, I chose this because my sister was like, "You're good at this. You should be doing this." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, let me try something different," because I was called to engineer. Remember, I told you that was what I was.
Listen, let me say this: if you were a black woman and you were smart, you was called to some kind of math, a science, technology, or something.
Yeah.
I was called to engineering.
I was called to engineering, but I was led to birth work because I realized I had a passion for it. There was something in it for me, and I appreciated it. Hold on just a second. I think I got what I'm going for. There's always something going on in my world. Lord have mercy. Hey. So for me, because I gotta be on 2 or 3 different things. So anyways, so keeping that in mind when and even since November, things have changed. There we go. So with that whole thing in mind, I have to be mindful of the fact that some people are called to this work and some people choose this work. And for the ones who are called to this work, they martyr themselves in this industry. And so there is a profession that this industry creates for us. There is an opportunity that this creates for us. And we have to be mindful that when we're in this space, we have a work to do, but we can't burn ourselves out. We can't overextend ourselves. So when you do something that you choose to do, you have a different kind of level of it. When you feel like you called to it, you like, I will sacrifice everything I have to because this is what I was meant to do. This is what I was put on earth to do. But where there's a purpose, there is also a prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
And so many doulas who are called to this birth work don't find themselves prospering in this work because they feel led and compelled to do it based on, this is my calling. And it's a conditioning. It's a conditioning. When you're called to a thing, you sacrifice for that thing. But when I choose that thing, I'm going to prioritize certain things about it. I'm going to make sure it's working for me. I'm going to make sure it's working for my family. There's an option for me to do it or an option for me not to do it because I can choose something else.
So for those that feel it's a call, how have you found the balance in that? Because you were talking about, okay, I'm called to engineering. So that was something you would have martyred yourself for,
I would have martyred myself for that. I would have done every class. I would have been behind a desk. I would have done all it because I just known that every provision was going to be made for me to make it happen.
Okay. So for those that come to birth work with that same frame of mind, that same thing of, I'm willing to go and do whatever, because for the same reason, I know that every provision is going to be done. How can they bridge the gap? How can you help create a bridge?
Because you have to still understand that there's a level of professionalism that goes along with that. There's a level of knowledge that goes along with that. You still have to get trained. And so many people walk into it because there's the call and they're like, God gonna give me the tools. I'm gonna reach on high. I'm gonna call on spirit for what I need. And they don't look at it as a profession. It's still a profession. And when you're called to a thing, you think all provisions are going to be made for me, so I don't have to really put in. And this is my perspective. This is my perspective on the people.
That's what I'm asking for.
The people that I'm engaging with.
Yes.
The people who I feel that choose this industry will take the time to prioritize the knowledge base. I go back to my thought. Like I didn't have an amazing birth experience and then had a doula with me, and that's the reason why I wanted to become a doula. Like I was called to it because such a beautiful thing happened to me, and I want every other woman to experience this. And I know it's going to happen because I just have a heart for it, and I can just go in there and I can just do it, and I'm going to do what's best for her, and I'm going to make sure she has the best experience because I had the best experience. That's not how we do what we do. And then you had the people who had the worst birth experience on the planet. They felt like they were treated like crap, the whole 9 yards, and sure enough, they ended up having a trauma. So they never want any woman to experience the trauma. So they feel called to birth work so that no woman experiences the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't go and get an understanding as to how that trauma manifests, what other aspects of that trauma are gonna impact their lives on another level. It was just, I'm called to it because I don't want another woman to be traumatized, or I'm called to it because I want another woman to experience the kumbaya I experienced. That's those people who have the calling for it. It's a lot that gets missed in that. Then you have those academians like me who choose this, who say, okay, I understand what this education track means. I understand why I need to be educated in this area. I understand that I need to understand that there's an impact that happens with birth. There's an impact that happens with.
Uh-oh.
And so because somebody calling. Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody's calling me. That's how it kind of happens when you I'm telling you, it's the middle of the day. We probably should have done this at 2:00 in the morning.
You got to choose the time, girl. If you told me, I'd have been
I was trying to. I should have thought about it like that. So needless to say, when we think about, and I'm the queen of double booking myself. So when we think about those people who are called to this thing and the people who are, who focus on, let me go and learn, let me go and get an understanding. I don't find those women are more of those, what I call renegade doulas. Most renegade doulas are called to the industry. Most radical doulas are called to the industry because they feel compelled to go in and change the system or to impact someone's birth experience. Whereas the people who choose this industry, they choose to figure this thing out along the way. They figure out, okay, I need some education in this area. I need to get an understanding. Let me get some competency on this. Let me get a little bit of skills on that. Let me get some knowledge base on that. And let me bring all that together to create a brand for myself or a role or a space in the birth industry. Let me do that first before I step into someone else's birth experience and transfer my experience to that whole transference and counter transference that we learned in social services. That happens when you find yourself called to this work.
Okay, so then there, when many people talk about call, they talk about it in the sense of like not so much from what happened in somebody's birth experience or whatever, but in the context of the grand midwives of the South, those that knew they had a calling to birth, those who would apprentice with them and who would say, or whatever. For those that come to a call from that perspective, okay.
Again, that was passed down tradition. That was, I'm gonna sit at your feet and I'm gonna learn.
Okay.
That was a lot of that did it, and a lot of that was passed down, and that was because I felt pulled and compelled because I saw my auntie, I saw my Madea, I saw my grandmother. I'm gonna follow in her footsteps. That's where I was called to it. Not from an academic standpoint, but from a heart point. That calling comes from a heart place. But we're in an industry that speaks to, we need stats, we need outcomes, we need measurables, we need metrics. All of that matters as well. And like I said, from the world I come from, that makes a difference in whether you get funded or whether you don't get funded. Mm-hmm. That makes a difference in whether or not you can sit at the table with the right people or not sit at the table with the right people. Because you got a heart for a thing don't mean somebody gonna fund it. Mm-hmm. You got to give them some measurable outcomes. And if you don't have the knowledge base to understand what is a metric for your outcome, if I ask someone very specifically, what are the metrics of your program and what are the outcomes? Give me some measurables. They're looking at me like, what? Girl, we saving lives. You need to give me some measurables on how that happens so I can fund that. And I have a reason to ask somebody to give me money. Most of the people who have a heart for the work, who are called to the work, they don't grasp that concept and how important that is to take the work to the next level.
So one of the things that I say, where do you see, so if you had to describe and you said, okay, what did you say? You said the call and
versus the choice.
Versus the choice, the two C's. In your mind, should all women approach doula work as a choice? Or do you see a place also for the call? And if so, what does that look like for you?
There is a balance between the two. For the women who are called to the work, do not dismiss, disregard, or discount those who choose the work. Mm-hmm. For the women who choose the work, do not discount, dismiss, or disregard those who are called to the work. We each have something to bring to each other. The question is, are we going to be open to receive that from each other? Because you have sisters that come in like me, who I don't feel I was called to this, but I know the work. I speak birth like I speak English. I speak the language of birthing because I have thrown myself in. I have gotten educated on so many different levels. I have trained, I have enhanced my skills on so many different levels, and I needed that for me. But when I stepped to the person that's called to the work, and she was like, you know what, I got this from my grandmother. It's just in me. I can, and I'm going to learn from her. I'm going to glean from her. Because there's some things Madea taught her that no book would ever be able to teach me. And there's some things that I know that's in this book that you missed because you sat at Madea's feet. Because Madea didn't have it. And Madea had no way to base it on. Now let me show you how you turn that passion, that calling, into a viable, resourceful opportunity to take it to the next level. Because sometimes you can only go as far as your knowledge will take you.
And what does that next level look like for you when you say take it to the next level?
That next level looks like community change. It looks like programs where Black women are accessing resources that are available to them within their community by women who look like them, who sound like them, who know what resources are in their community, who can navigate that process with them so that they understand what their options are for their birth experiences, whether it be in hospital, out of hospital, with a midwife, with an OB. They understand what that looks like so that they have a chance to have a positive birth outcome. We can't have that situation where women don't know what their options are because they were with someone who just knew how to save their life. Mm-hmm. See, I want to know how to save your life and teach you how to save somebody else's, save the next sister's life. So if we're focusing on everything they did wrong, because it goes back to the conversation I have about empowering women to have a voice in their experience. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if I'm just here to serve you, I don't know how to empower you. But there may be someone over here who learned the academics of empowering a person, and I know how to empower you because I learned that process, and then she gonna teach me how to serve you because she sat at Madea's feet. Mm-hmm. So that I can help you navigate the resource in the community because that's what I've learned how to do as a resource coordinator through my academic learning. I've learned how to be real good at resource coordinating. And then I've also learned from the grand midwife how to serve the things that the community, the ways that in which our community needs us. Now I'm gonna bring those two together. We gotta stop putting one versus the other. We're pitting each other against each other by dismissing the fact that we bring the richness to each other.
Mm-hmm.
We have what we need to stop dying.
Exactly.
We have it amongst ourselves. We don't need to step outside and ask someone else how it is that we're supposed to save each other. But we're too busy trying to be the one that has, the one that says the loudest,
Mm-hmm.
that screams it the furthest, or takes it the furthest. When really, let me sit around here with my sisters and see what we all bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't forget that I got to see at one of the biggest tables that's walking through every door. So I want to ally myself with the people who want to either be on board with me or who I can help them go out and do their thing on a smaller level. But you're doing it in a way where you can take us to the next level. So you know how to walk through the door and get funding. One person shouldn't have all the funding and dispersing it out to everybody. Everybody need to be able to go out and have the knowledge to get the funding.
So address the part where because you mentioned the aspect of where it gets to where there's sometimes this back and forth. Which one is the right, I love how you said the call versus the choice.
The choice.
Right. And some people, for example, they be like, okay, I'm not renegade just because I follow my call. A lot of people are entering this because they are feeling compelled to do so, and not so much as a profession. And I actually, when I do, I did a paradigm, doula paradigms, and I talked about the different reasons why people were coming to birth. You have those that are focused on service. You have those focused on the profession and making sure that it's viable. You have those that are there for sisterhood. You also have those that are there for, I forgot the last one for whatever reason. What color is it? Oh, for the activism.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like those that are there for more of the professionalism and the service are the ones that are more willing to come, through the ranks. This is how, let me teach you this, let me do that. The service organizations, some of them are the community doulas. It's okay, we're going to train you like this, we're going to tell you like this, da-da-da. The professional ones are okay, let's show you how to interact with the
funding sources and in legislators, hospitals, administrations,
all of those. And then you have the other side of it that is more about I sat at so and so's feet, but we weren't dying in the same way when or whatever. How in your mind, because you mentioned that before you got your training, you were doing it. You don't identify it as a call before you trained. But you were still doing the work. You were still helping whoever at church.
Family and friends, and church members, exactly.
Stuff like that. Okay, so how can the bridge be built? How did you see yourself when you look back at yourself and what you did then? Because I don't see the bridge yet.
Because I didn't have the knowledge of the metrics. I didn't understand what I was building a bridge to.
But when you look back at yourself, right? Because for some people, that's exactly where they are.
Yeah.
Where you sitting on a board of, the first organized, doula association, the grand poobah of them, the one that has the
one that has access,
and that's the truth. But there's so much antagonism that has come from just what was happening it is not like what happened 20 years ago.
This was a few years ago.
A couple of years ago.
Yes.
Things that were said 2000 and whatever teen. Okay, this is not like
that's 25 years ago.
No, it's here. So I believe you're the kind of person that can help people see the bridge in that, because there is value, like I said, in representation, not only representation of you all on the board, but representation within the organization, as you stated earlier. But there are some that have, as the poster child of disenfranchisement of Black women in birth work Donor International. They would have that
have been the pinnacle of that. They
the
have been,
height
they
of it all.
epitomized. They've
Exactly.
epitomized it. Yes.
So like,
they have.
if you could look back at what you were doing, and let me say it this way. One of the things that I say, and that I tell people is I say, listen, you don't have to call yourself a doula in order to support a woman in birth.
No.
You don't have to call yourself a doula to do that.
You don't.
And so
I agree with you on that. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that.
You know, don't make it about that word, because there are people that are actually doing this as a profession to take care of their household. Some are single mothers. Some of them are depending on whatever.
And they have never had a lick of training.
Well, they haven't. But there are those that are investing in the profession as
every single day. There are those who are out here in the trenches who are doing it, maintaining, and they have no affiliation to any organization. They have a heart for the work, and they are doing a great job at it. We can't discount them.
Well, no, what I'm pointing out though is I'm saying for those that are approaching this like you did, okay? They're saying, I need to be trained. I'm coming more from the intellectual place, less from the heart place.
Right,
okay?
right. That was me.
And so I'm saying I'm coming through here. I'm investing. Because you just said, I'm not talking about the ones that, you know, they didn't go to trainings or anything like that. I'm saying, no, I'm investing. I'm actually investing in being affiliated with this organization. I'm investing to ensure that I can tell people I'm affiliated with this organization, to hide the skill set that I have. And I have this. But they're approaching it from an intellectual place.
Yes.
Okay. So there are these over here that I'm approaching it intellectually, like where you are right now. Then you have the other people who might be using the name doula, might not. I don't know. Did you use the name doula while you were out there?
I've always used the term.
Okay. So before I was
certified, I still use the term.
Okay. So let's say they were more in that space. They were more there. Okay. How could you help? I hear you saying that there's a bridge that can be built there, and that there's, you know, appreciation for both. But I don't really see it in a practical way just yet. I agree that like I said, that the representation is important, especially with the organization that you're with. I appreciate all of that, but can you offer any practical steps so that, because what often happens, and this is just with any type of educational thing, and you don't even have to be talking about doula work, you can talk about academics of any kind, and anytime that there is intellectual context to something, then that is placed at a higher tier than grandma's whatever, big mama, what she told.
So true.
And so people feel that energy coming in. You have the people that are saying, no, I had a dream that I was supposed to do this. I saw whatever and I didn't know what it was. And then this is what happened. They might have resources that are beneficial, but there's always been a clash between, innately in birth, the whole notion of the Black midwife was that she was ignorant.
Yeah, and dirty, and she didn't have, dirty,
sanitary, didn't have the knowledge.
Yeah, so those all those negative messages.
Exactly. And so those that are coming from this space of saying, I'm following in the footsteps of the women that went before me. And so to come into this birth space and to then be greeted by their sisters who say, okay, you don't have the book knowledge, you don't have the whatever. It resembles the same thing. It resembles the same story. I think you're the person to give some ideas about how to bridge that, so that, because one of the things that I do relationship education with my husband, and in any partnership or any kind of thing that people are trying to do together, one of the foundational pillars is mutual respect. And if one person
that's a start.
That's a start. You can't do nothing.
We can't do none of this. So you're asking me how it starts. I was just gonna say it starts by the academician with the intellect coming off a high horse and saying, I can learn from you. You have to be humble enough to realize and recognize you don't know it all. You don't have all the answers. Even from sister to sister, we don't have all the answers. So when a sister steps to another sister, again, white women have been doing it forever, and they're gonna keep doing it. They're gonna keep on holding their intellect higher than what it is not. So we ain't no need of us even trying with them.
That's where I'm at right there. How can we do this? Black women not bring that kind of energy if we don't bring that connecting to our past. Because I'm one of those people that believes that when it comes to our historical context, the reason why we survived, even with these technically illiterate women and all these things, was because they had some vital skills that even now we're trying to figure out.
But you also have to understand, back then they had community. They had community. They had
That's what I'm saying.
They had a familial love and respect and mutual regard for each other. So that mutual respect was already there. I don't care if she came in my house and she had just a little bag and some flip-flops on and grandma's skirt. She got greeted with a meal. She got greeted with some love. If she got tired, my sofa or my bed was extended to her to be able to serve me and my family. That's just the way community was set up back then, because all we had back then was each other.
So then on that point, that's right there on that point. That would be called, a lot of what you described, a lot of those things are now the path of like the postpartum doula. That's what's paid for. You pay for community. And though that's another area that I've seen clash, where it's like, no. Are you a certified, not just birth doula? Are you certified postpartum doula? So now, where it should be easy enough to say, okay, I'm going to come in and I hope there's some things that I know specifically to do, to look for, maybe, looking for signs of postpartum depression, stuff like that. And what would be really awesome, and I could show you, if you can assist her with this, and this, because I'm only going to be here for 3 hours.
Right.
See, that to me is the balance. That's the balance to me, to know that the community is still important. But what I see is that we choose this other path that says, are you certified or not? And one of the things that I scream from the rooftop is, I think I just screamed it Saturday night when I was awarded an award. You don't need, in order to be a sister to somebody, to just be, an auntie, a cousin. You don't need a certification in the training.
You don't need a certification to love on somebody. You don't need a certification to be honorable to somebody. You don't need to be certified to be humane. There is no certification in humanity.
Exactly.
And dignity. We want women to have dignified birth experiences. There's no certification that's going to teach me how to love on you.
That's what I'm saying.
None of that exists.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
And so it's not necessary to have it to be able to offer the support you need. However, because we live in a society that has deemed it, society did that. So now either you're going to follow what society has given you as an opportunity to take things to the next level. And again, next level meaning going through doors that you wouldn't necessarily be able to go through, that they say. Because again, I'm just speaking about what they say, because I know you can go in there and serve her.
What they
say. Them, those, and they. That's what me and my girlfriend do. Them, those, and they.
Say it right now.
So when we're referring to them, those, and they, there's a requirement that has been a conditioning that this piece of paper or these letters separate you from the rest and put you at an elevated letter, when I know your heart can take you through places that my credentials can't. And because your heart is gonna make you do the work that my credentials ain't gonna let me, because I'm gonna be like, well, now look here now. I got to pay these bills back.
I just read a post and somebody was talking about that. They were like, okay, some of y'all talking about doing some stuff for folks to somebody. Why am I doing that? I'm a postpartum doula. Why am I doing this, and this? What? That's not my role. Even the diversity in that. But I love what you're saying, because the thing that I'm pulling away most is, if we having an understanding of the way that things are presented in society. Do you have this certification? Do you have this? Do you have this, that? Have you gone through this or whatever training? I know personally from doing Sankofa Birth Ambassadors, I present them with all of them. Like I told you before.
Yes.
If you're the only Black donor trainer that I know, I let them know. I said, okay. First of all, most of the organizations I refer them to are Black ones. But if I refer them to,
and that's okay. And see, the thing
yeah,
about it is,
yeah,
I appreciate that the sisters out here have organizations that exist so that they have what they need. Now, the question that I ask them is, because I train from a perspective of, I'm gonna teach you how to be a good doula. I'm gonna teach you how to serve the community. I'm gonna teach you cultural competence and how to identify microaggressive behavior so that you can address it in the moment. I'm gonna teach you how to make money. I'm gonna teach you how to do some other things that hard work can't teach you how to do. Hard work gonna teach you how to do some things that I don't necessarily
the intellect.
feel
Yeah,
that intellect takes me to another level.
exactly.
So it just so happens that I'm affiliated with an organization that gives me access to be able to do that on a grand scale. And so it opens that door.
And that's one of the, I'm gonna ask you about that, because when I first met you, I love that balance that you had created.
Earn and serve.
Yes. I love that balance. But I appreciate, what I appreciate is, especially when we're talking about Black women, I think it's very, very important that we remember that it's not like we're totally different from others, but we have to keep our context in mind. Everybody in doula world is not going to say, I have an indigenous background, I have a Black background, I have an Italian this, and we used to do that. I'm Asian, and this is how we do. But Black women have that context. And so I'm all about honoring that, not putting that down, but we have to know, like you said, that there are other ways we can ascend. And like I said, and one of the things that I do with the Senko for Birth Ambassadors, I ask them, what is your purpose? What are you trying to do here? And so that often guides as well where people will go and look. And like I said, I always refer them to you. But tell us about, because you have a non-for-profit. Now, I don't know
what I do
right now. I know
prior
to last year and your new responsibilities. I know that I loved when I first met you, you had this amazing balance between your for-profit work and your non-for-profit work.
Right.
Could you please just explain, first of all, how, just the concept of that? Because I think it's important for Black women to think on. This is one of those levels I think we need to think on. I tell them, put your mask on first. Okay?
Yes.
Come now. Go and talk to people.
Yes. So when we save ourselves before we can save others. And so I'm real big on, I can do more for my community when I have resources to do more for my community, which is one of the reasons why I maintain my affiliation with Doula International, because Doula International has the resources. And I can do more as a community-based doula affiliated with an organization. When I walk into a hospital meeting and they say, we'll only take donor doulas. And I say, oh, I'm a donor trainer. Don't worry. They don't be mad when they come in here empowered. Don't be mad when the sisters come in here speaking a different birth language than y'all used to, because y'all are giving me, because this is what happened when I got my hospital contract. I'm still the only African-American woman who has stood in this country, in the USA, who has received a private hospital contract serving as a community-based doula. Can't nobody else. And if I find another one, please just call me so we can talk, and we can talk best practices, because I ain't met one yet.
Yeah, I remember I remember you, girl.
And they drugged me. And when I say they drugged me, I say they smashed all my edges.
But you worked that out. Yes,
baby, I hung in there, because every single one of those mamas that I served, and every single teen mom that went in and had an unmedicated natural birth, every single mom who went in and had a VBAC, every single mom who went in there with a birth plan and said, this is what I choose for my birth experience, had it because I had the opportunity as a donor trainer to train donor doulas and walk them in that hospital. They wouldn't take nobody else.
That's right.
They wouldn't take nobody. So I got to use my access.
That's it. Come on.
Because I'm at the table, and I got to help show some other people how you can still serve our community of women, but still position yourself in a way that you're not excluded. And so it's been hard trying to pull a donor out of this mindset that they the only answer. It's like, it's been a struggle. And the sister that's sitting at the helm now is catching darts. I mean, she's catching darts in her back by sisters that look like her, because again, we're affiliated with what would be considered the enemy.
Yeah.
You know, you're affiliated with the enemy, because Doula International they haven't even reconciled the mess that they've made in the Black birth community. So right now we're trying to reconcile.
And that is so, I mean, literally that is so major. Even to listen and to hear you and you're speaking and what you're saying, it's one of the reasons why I wanted you to do this, because it's not, now let me be clear, I'm not saying, oh, to make people feel better about,
No,
you
no, no,
know,
no,
the
no, because I
organization.
can't, I don't have the power to make you feel anything.
Exactly. But I think it is important that we understand that everybody is doing and working their
Yes.
piece of things. We have a lot of work to do. And
So
so
much.
the one that says, I want to be with Donna because, you know what, I like what Nikia said. Yep, I like seats at the table. Somebody else like, y'all gonna get enough for sitting at them tables. Y'all gonna get enough. Folks sitting there, they ain't doing nothing but using you. You know what? There is room for
it.
everybody.
And it's okay to have, yes, it's okay to have that mindset and go out there and do it. I just personally choose not to do it that hard. I just choose not to work that hard.
Yeah.
For the person who wants to get out there and they want to get in the trenches and they want to dig through and they want to start from scratch and they want to go out there and they want to push every dime and pull every penny together that they have to start their program and go out here and talk to as many people as they can. By all means, sister, I salute you. If you need me, I'm here. I'm a voice for support. And I'm going to edify you in your effort. I just don't want to work that hard.
And in a sense, for you, because you've been doing this work for a while now.
Yes.
You've worked really hard.
I did that thing. I did that already.
I've talked to some women who have been doing the work for a while, and it comes a time because this is hard work.
It is hard work.
They're like, okay, I'm good with that. I'm good. I
like stamps on my passport. I like vacations. I like being able to give my kid what he needs. I don't mind being a part of my community, but I don't have to succumb to my community. I don't mind getting tired for my sisters, but I can't exhaust myself. And that's what happens.
It is. The burnout thing is real. And I do spend a lot of time encouraging women, establish yourself.
Yes.
And I have things that I tell them specifically, because some Black women think they're going to make money in the,
You better know how to make money so that you can serve the women who need you. I tell them all the time, I earn so that I can serve.
They're those that I only want to work. Now I will say this for the call, okay? I'm here because I heard the Black women were dying. I've heard this more than once. I've heard Black women were dying. They was dying before. We were dying before, and I am here, but I only want to work with Black women. And I always say, are you looking to do this? Well, I work as a so-and-so right now, but I want to quit that and I want to come over here and I want to do this full time. But I only want to work with Black women.
Okay. And that's what I said when I hear people say that. I said, okay. Now what I need you to do is I need you to prioritize your resources so that you can do that in a way.
And what does that mean, ma'am? Why would she need to prioritize her resources?
Because unfortunately, the women who need us the most are the ones who have the access and the resources to be able to pay us for the work that we're doing. You have to be willing to either sacrifice yourself and your family for the cause. Because again, we're looking at systems that were put in place long before we started doing this work that have already, again, when we talk about the healthcare system, these are white coats worn by white men. When we talk about the system, all the other systems, look at our federal government and see how many white men sit in the seats where the laws are being made. These aren't opportunities that we have had over the years that have just said, we're included. So there is no inclusivity when it comes to the work that needs to be done. But take this into consideration. Even if they undid racism tomorrow, even if racism, because again, that's the vein that this is all flowing through. The vein of racism that disproportionately affects housing, education, employment, banking, healthcare,
access to whatever.
Access to anything and everything has been derogatory toward Black people because it's been systematically set up that way.
From the foundation of the country. So this is not like it happened after Jim Crow or happened.
That ain't nothing new. That ain't nothing new.
This is
what it is. But if we undid that, and let's say tomorrow the playing field was equal, leveled across the board, and everybody had access to everything they need, we still have to change the mindset. That mindset is ingrained and it has been conditioned. And they did it systematically on purpose to keep us bound in our own loss, in our own neglect, in our own disdain, in our own self-hatred. They did it strategically. So we have to be a people that realizes and recognizes that the people who I want to serve, they already struggling. So I can't be in the struggle with them, because what am I going to bring to the table? If I can't, I'm trying to pay my electricity bill, but I'm concerned because this sister getting put out. So I'm going to run over here and I'm going to use what last I have, because I have heard sisters tell me they have spent money putting women in hotels. I was just talking to a sister who had spent her own resources to help a newly postpartum mama put her kids and her kids in a hotel. Now, mind you, she got a baby daddy and she got family, and she's choosing not to tap into those resources because she's doing this on her own, because I don't know who burned who. But this sister is exhausting herself and her resources to serve this woman. And I'm saying to myself, I know these exist because these systems were put in place long before we got here that created an element that we cannot change overnight. We are not going to be able to undo what was done overnight. That mindset has to change. So that's where the education comes in. That next to salvation, that's what's free in my world. Because I ain't God. Because the only thing in the world that truly comes free is salvation. Aside from that, when you're dealing with Nikia Lawson, I'm going to educate you on the highest of everything I have in me, whether you are a CEO or whether you're in the homeless shelter. They sit in my class together on fourth Saturdays, because it's important to me that that's how I serve.
But Nikia, I'm here for Black women, and I just want to, it's important. I mean, and
I tell them, I said, I love you for it, sis. And I love you for wanting the best for us. But we have got to slowly but surely take these opportunities one at a time to educate and empower our sisters to be as responsible for their own health and wellness, as responsible for their being, for their existence. Because again, I can get tired with you, but I can't exhaust myself for you. What do I have to give if I'm exhausted in this energy? If I'm giving it all to the woman who at one point, talking to a sister in the other day in Mississippi, she was saying how her program was funded. They were offering free doula services to the community because she had a funded community doula program. They lost their funding. Well, these women in the community still want free doula care because that's what they were accustomed to. But why you on baby number 7 asking for a free doula? See, I'm having a situation where I need to empower my mamas, my Black women in this community, to understand that we're going to have to be as responsible as we are vigilant and in activism. We've got with the same steam and robustness that we step into the birth community and tell others, you got to be ready to take the charge. With that same energy, we got to empower women to make sound choices for a better health and wellness and lifestyle.
And what I find, and I'm going to try to say it the right way, what I find is that often people, because so many negative things have happened with Black women, people don't want to hear you say, okay, as a result of this system, some of the things and our resourcefulness and our responsibilities, we've kind of laid them down. Mm-hmm. And people don't necessarily want to hear, Nikia, why are you telling Black women what they need to do?
I know. I hear that. Why are you blaming the victim?
See, I didn't say it. She said it.
Yeah, I said it.
Point. She said it.
Because I can't blame my sisters for what they didn't learn. I can't blame my sisters for the conditions that have been put in their head. All I can do is empower them to think about it differently. And that is our responsibility. It's our responsibility when we run across those little younger girls in our community. It's our responsibility to mentor them, to love on them, to empower them, to show them some self-love and self-worth. That's our responsibility because they've been conditioned to hate themselves. They've been conditioned to do the wrong things for the wrong reasons and getting the wrong results and thinking that that's okay. That's just a conditioning. And again, even if we undid racism, we still have mindsets to deal with. So it would have to be a double-edged sword. We'd have to cut out racism, and we have to cut out that mindset. And because we don't have it, and again, I tell people all the time, I don't have the capacity because of the choices that I made. See, I made a choice to have one kid, and at the time I didn't want any more kids, and God blessed me with another one. He got jokes. God got jokes and blessed me with that other one 10 years later. And when at that point I realized this is all that I have the capacity to give as a parent, so I'm gonna stop having kids. That was my personal choice. So I didn't choose to do it because I didn't want a whole bunch of baby daddies. I didn't want to have a situation where I couldn't afford to take care of my kids. I wanted to be in a position where I could give them the best of what I had to offer with what I had at the table. And that was for me and mine. But that was a choice I made because I had to unlearn. That's my new pitch I'm on right now. Teach people how to unlearn.
Nice.
So I'm in the process of teaching people. That's my new campaign for 2019 moving forward. Teach people how to unlearn. You got to unlearn some of the things that you were taught that you thought were okay. And so with that, that's how we're going to feel like we can empower Black women without feeling like we're blaming the victim.
Thank you for that. And how are you doing that in your work? I know you're working with Doula International on the board level. What are you doing? Tell us about the programs and things that you have in place, your non-for-profit, all of that.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you on the go because I got to, look, I done sat for an hour.
Okay, go ahead. We finishing up. This the end right here. This the end.
I got to keep moving because I was like, okay, I sat here for an hour.
Go ahead. Just go ahead. Put it in. Go ahead.
So what I'm doing from a community perspective, I have a nonprofit organization that focuses on infant mortality reduction and awareness, and we do that through education, empowerment, support, and advocacy. So the goal is to educate the community because, like I said, education is free. I don't think people should pay to get educated about something that they were conditioned to learn the wrong way. And again, when I say that in terms of education, it boils down to the fact that they told us to trust our doctors. They told us our doctors had all the answers. Remember, that's what they told us. And we were conditioned to believe that that was the only way we were supposed to have our babies. When in all honesty, we need to trust ourselves. Somebody got to teach Black women how to trust themselves. That's not something that you need to go and let somebody with a white coat, a white man with a white coat tell you how to trust yourself. That's not fair. That's not fair to the women who are out here doing the work. So my program is designed and geared to empower women through education. Okay? We also do support. Doula care should be affordable. Do I think doula should be free? No, because it's a sacrifice to doula. So that means the doula who is in the community, she more than likely has children. Somebody got to watch her kids. That costs money.
That's right.
If she has a car, she got to maintain her vehicle.
That's right.
That costs money. If she has supplies in her doula bag, that costs money. Even if she gets free doula training to maintain that or to get certified by an entity, that costs money. So to ask her to turn around and go give somebody 10, 15, 20, sometimes even 36 hours of her time for free because another person needs it.
I think we lost her. I think we get the point. I don't know if it'll come back in. I'm going to wait 1 second. If not, what I'll do is I'm going to make sure that you know. There she is. Okay, there you are. Okay.
You lost it for a second? Okay, that's because I was leaving one Wi-Fi zone to another. Okay. I talk about community doula work. Do you know how many times when we had our community doula program that women who were receiving free doula care would get all this love and support? They got loved on by the doula. They got loved on by the program, and then they didn't even call them when it was time to have a baby.
I've been there in those community programs. That's why
in the community programs.
Yeah,
and this is what I'm saying. But these are the women who need us.
Exactly.
These are the women who need us the most because they're not even understanding the value of the care that they have access to.
Exactly.
So how fair is that to the doula who's made the sacrifice?
Laying on the bed with clothes on, waiting for you to call, and you don't call.
And then you call 2 days later to check on her. And she said, I had the baby 2 days ago.
Exactly.
Really? Oh, wow. But I poured all this into your life, into your spirit, into your energy, into your experience. And was there any value in that? So these are the reasons why I do not believe that community-based doula program should not have some sort of reciprocal buy-in.
Exactly. Should be reciprocity.
some reciprocity when it comes to community-based doula support. And even though people want to say, well, we blaming the victim, they don't have the money. We got some sort of, honey, fair exchange ain't no robbery. We got something we can bring to the table. Even if it's, I mean, I've had women who have given $150, because then I can get that to the doula coming through my program.
Yeah.
We have women who have volunteered to do social media because you have that skill, and then you're going to get doula support in the process of. We require them all to come to childbirth class, even when they don't feel like they need childbirth class, but you want affordable doula care.
Yeah.
That was my phone ringing again. So those are the kind of things that we have to have that buy-in. So I truly believe that there should be a doula for every person who wants one. I really do. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be the one to provide that.
Yeah. Okay.
There needs to be some reciprocal exchange.
Definitely.
Aside from that, we've got to make sure that we're advocating so that women who are in the community who are doing the work get some sort of compensation for it.
Exactly.
And so that's where all the legislation is now, to make doula care accessible for families, but then also make sure that doula care is available for the individuals providing the service to have a livable wage. Now, people are complaining that doulas are not getting paid enough through these Medicaid proposals, that the dollar amounts are so low that the women cannot survive. Your only source should not be Medicaid.
Exactly.
If you're running your business, if you're doing it as a business, and if you're doing it as a community program, then they should have funding to supply the doula for her work that she's doing. And it should be reasonably compensated for the work that she's doing. But if you're looking for Medicaid to be your sustenance,
it won't work. Won't happen.
That's not a good business model.
No,
because no
not.
doctor has a whole caseload of patients that are Medicaid recipients. They have private pay, they have self-pay, they have Medicaid recipients. And same the way for doulas who are in business, they should be operating in that same mindset. That if I'm going to do this as a business, then I need to have some self-pay clients, I need to have some Medicaid for those opportunities, and I need to have some who I may be able to do some insurance reimbursement. That should be a model. Or it should be that I'm doing some other things in conjunction with my doula work. I do placenta services, I do postpartum, I do whatever the case may be. If it's a single siloed model, and then the networking is super important. We can't do this work by ourselves. I cannot do the work that I'm doing in my community, serving and educating and empowering women. I cannot do that by myself.
That's right.
And whether I'm doing that with women who are affiliated with Donor International, or if I'm doing that with women who are not affiliated at all, I understand the value of giving of myself. I understand the value of educating and empowering women so that we have what we need to change our communities. We have it. We have it already there.
I believe that too.
I do. I feel you on it. So when we talk about how do we bridge that gap between the intellectual and the community-based, we bridge that gap by offering education opportunities. We bridge that gap by having social interactions. And it should be more than I just see you on a Facebook chat. Like, you need to literally hug your sister and exchange some physical energy.
Yeah.
You need to find out what it is. You need to find out what it is that's going on with her to where I can help empower her. What it is that's going on with her to where I can help motivate her. Because I come with an intellect and she comes with a sense of spirit. Nice. Or she comes with heart. We got to be willing to do that. And I don't think the sisters are willing to do that anymore because we've come to do this in a silo. And as much as I hate to say it, we get to a place where I don't want her to have a little bit more than I have. I don't want her to know a little bit more than I know. So I'm not going to share with her how I made that contract happen. People have asked me. I had one white woman reach out to me and ask me, could I send her my hospital contract? And I said, honey, unless you have come down from on high off the cross, I know you didn't just call me and ask me to send you this contract that I had to work hard for. But I had a sister that reached out to me and said, Nikia, there's this hospital program. I said, girl, let me tell you what you got to do. Hold on now. And I don't say that to be mean and evil, but I already know she has more access than this Black woman does. She probably has lawyers that she could sit down and talk to about about contracts. This sister might not have that kind of money to put in to try to figure out how she gonna get a contract, but I know how she can do it without going through an attorney. I know how she can do it because it ain't hurting me to help her get a hospital contract and her seat in her community. I'm not losing nothing by blessing her on that level. What is wrong with us feeling like we can't bless each other to get to the next level?
I think
that's how we change this.
And I think that's what I love about you. I think that what you just described, like sometimes if we enter birth culture, and that's one of the things I focus on with my workshops, we enter into this very antagonistic kind of thing. But we have to remember that there are individuals that are willing to share. And as we as Black women come together, and as I say, remember who we are and reclaim birthrights and everything else, I think that community will be there, and we will see each other as the word left me, but we will see that we're a resource for the other.
Yes, so, we are.
Before you got to run away for good, tell us how we can get.
Cause look, I'm good now. Look, I'm rolling now.
Yeah, you out, girl. I'm like, how she gonna double book me? I gave her a choice.
And that's what I fuss about the same thing.
Do you?
I gave you a choice, and I do. I'm like, you chose this. Why would you do this and you chose it? But when you're as busy as I get, I literally forget stuff. And then I got to see about my mama. Mommy, say hi.
Hi. Hey. Okay, so
I got to see about my mommy. My mommy needed me right now. So
that's right. You told me, girl. You said you got to take care of your mama.
I got to take care of my mama. Yeah. So that's why I was like, oop, I got somewhere to be. And I knew we were gonna be on the car for at least. I said we're gonna get about an hour, but if whatever she needs me for, I got her. Because I got you.
I got you, girl. Okay, well, tell us. I so appreciate, so appreciate that you would still, that you didn't cancel, that you would still do this, because I'm excited to share who you are.
I know. I'm so sorry.
No, you're so crazy. Your place in birth culture. I think that people need to see all the sides of where we are as Black women in birth culture, and figure out where they belong, and understand there is no place in birth culture where we are not, and you represent that. So I want to thank you for that. Just tell them how I'll have it written down, but out of your mouth, how can they get in touch with you? How, if they want to reach out, what are you good? If they want to, are you busy these days as they can see themselves?
I'm busy these days. I mean, I'm out here doing it in these streets. Y'all have to understand, I'm out here in these streets changing lives. And so part of my effort is offering doula trainings.
Okay.
And so anybody who's individual in training as a birth doula, because I don't do postpartum doula trainings, but I offer birth doula trainings. They can reach out to me, and I tell you all the time, just call me.
Okay.
I'm a phone call away. Call me, and I'm literally giving you my phone number, 817-231-2672. And you know why I get my phone number out? Because folks don't use it.
I was about to say, you watch them call you this time. You
want to become a donor doula? Call me. You want to become a birth doula in the community? Call me. You want to learn how to be a better doula than you done already trained with somebody else? Because see, I'm that sister. Call me, because I want you to be a good doula. I want you to save some lives, and I want you to know how to do it. And I want you to know how to do it so effectively that you feel like somebody out here got your back. Because you done took somebody's training and you feel like I'm missing something. It's a piece that's missing somewhere. And it's some things that I'm going to share with you, and it's some things I'm going to sell you. Because I do this for a living. Because you see this one right here on the other side of here, that right there? That I got to take care of her. I got to take care of that boy of mine. I got to pay these utility bills. And I'm doing this as a single Black woman out here in these streets. So some things I'm going to give you because I love you. And some things I'm going to give you because it's business. And that's just good business. We got to get in the practice of doing good business. And we got to get in the practice of not martyring ourselves to the point where we have nothing else to give. So just be mindful that that's part of that. If you're in Tarrant County and you live in Tarrant County, Texas, here in the Fort Worth area, reach out to me. If you are Black and you're pregnant and you want to get educated, I do it once a month on fourth Saturday. Once a month on fourth Saturday, right here in my community, I teach a free class. And it's a shame that my class don't have standing room only, and that I don't have Black women busting from the scenes, and I don't have a waiting list. But I have empty seats every single month because we have been conditioned, and I have to teach them how to unlearn.
Come on now.
I got to teach them how to unlearn.
Hashtag unlearn. Go ahead.
Teach them how to unlearn. And if other people get out here in these streets and we start teaching our Black mamas how to unlearn what they have been conditioned to think, that they cannot trust their bodies and they cannot trust their own experience. I'm at the red light now so I can talk to y'all.
Okay.
You got to understand, Black women,
It's nuts.
that it is your responsibility to know what is going on with your birth journey. Just because he got on a white coat or she got on a white coat with MD behind her name doesn't mean she has your best interest at heart. You have to own your experience, and you do that through education. Get educated so that you can get empowered to have the birth of your choice. I do that once a month. Right here locally.
Find that on the website.
They can find that on the Natural Way Birthing Project website. That is my nonprofit entity, the Natural Way Birthing Project. That's my nonprofit. So if you're in the Dallas area, Fort Worth area, here around Tarrant County, I teach that class once a month for free. I'm actually in the process of creating an online component for that free education.
Excellent.
So I will be compiling the same information that I teach on fourth Saturday. I will be compiling that information in a Facebook group. So I'm looking to that to be prepared at the end of this month. And I say it out loud so I can hold myself accountable. If
I'm holding you accountable. I'm gonna call that number you just gave.
You better.
Where that online?
Where that Facebook group at Miss Nikia was talking about. Where that online option. Because I can't get the footwork.
And I love being able to share what you're doing. I love it because to me, there's no competition about anything. People
I want to compete with myself.
Exactly. People gonna look. They're gonna see what they like in you. They're gonna see what they like in me and whoever else.
Yes.
Okay. So
if there's so many of us doing it, then people have choices and they have options. Why are we feeling like what she's teaching it? I can't teach it. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. You can teach it at the same time and across the hall. Because you might draw some people that I ain't gonna draw, and I'm gonna draw some people that you ain't gonna draw. But guess what? We done at least drew 2 more people that's not gonna get educated in
That's it, girl.
Why do people feel like I am only in competition with myself? Because Nikia got to get better every day.
Exactly.
Every day. I got to get better so I don't double book myself, you know?
You know what? I'm gonna I love you so much with your crazy self.
Girl, I got to keep it real. Because this is the human part of me and the part of the things that I do. We gotta keep this thing real.
I'm glad that you allow people to see you real today. I was sitting there like, oh Lord, she gonna make me have to edit. I'm not editing nothing. They're gonna sit and wait like I had to sit and wait while you finish your double and triple. They gonna wait like I waited.
And you know what? I can appreciate it.
We sisters like that, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And know when you wait for me, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna show out and I'm gonna give you 110% of everything I got.
I love you, girl.
I
love Mama too. Tell her we said thank you for letting us have some time with you.
Yeah, they said thank you for letting them have some time.
I love you, girl. Listen, you guys, I'm gonna have the information about whatever you need to do to reach Nikia down below.
Yes.
But just know, Nikia, we appreciate the work that you are doing, not only in this country, but around the world.
I'm trying.
For Black women around the world, girl, keep doing what you're doing. Off to the races, off to the races. Oh my goodness, she gone, y'all. We love you, girl. Bye.
I love you, girl. Bye.
Bye.